3 up, 2 across, tap that play button 3 times, and walk through the archway into Dialogue Alley. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Dialogue Alley is a show all about Harry Potter books, book translations, and all other things magical. I am Erik, and with me today is Carly from All the Pretty Books.
Hello.
Hello, and back by popular demand, Melanie from the Harry Potter collection.
Hi.
Hey. Oh, Yay. We thought you'd never return. We thought you were gone forever. We thought you left us.
Feels like forever. Oh. Here I am.
So, here she is. So, Melanie is back. She was on a little vacation last week, which she's going to tell us more about a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had like a lot of busy Harry Potter things.
And I love the photos. I loved all the photos.
I mean, a lot of the photos were Disney photos. I feel like I didn't post a lot of Wizarding World. Oh, spoiler. I'm telling you guys exactly where I was.
I thought you went to like Yellowstone.
Episode's over.
We told everyone where you were last week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. I was going to say, episode's over. Now it's time to walk back through the archway.
The end.
Into your daily lives. We'll catch you next time.
1 minute and 32 seconds of
easiest editing ever.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oops.
All right. Well, instead of saying goodbye, we're going to say hello and welcome to our show. The three of us are Harry Potter book translation collectors. What does that mean? Well, you first-time listeners out there, I'm talking directly to you, and we're glad you're here. We collect Harry Potter books in different languages, and it's kind of bizarre, but it's also kind of cool. I was just talking to a colleague at my school who had no idea I did this today, and I had to explain the whole thing to him, and he was like, I could tell he thought it was kind of weird. And I'm like, you're right, it is kind of weird. However, it's also not weird because the more you learn about it, the less weird you think. And then he started asking me questions like, what's the rarest one you have? Like, how much did you pay for it? Where'd you get it? How did you get this book if they don't make it anymore? Right? So like, people get interested, even though they think that it's not interesting.
That, but also it exposes people to so many different languages. I love it. In fact, I actually was in a meeting with my boss the other day talking, and I wound up somehow talking about Harry Potter translation collecting because that totally gels with work.
Of course it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Completely. But she was totally fascinated.
Well, anytime you're starting to tell people you have it in all these languages, and they're like, do you have French? You're like, yeah. Do you have German? Yeah. And I'm like, I also have Greenlandic. And they're like, what?
That's a language?
Greenlandic from Greenland?
Well, I've even had people ask, where's Greenlandic from? I'm like, Greenland.
Oh,
Greenlandic is in Greenland.
It's from Greenland, my friend.
Yep.
So, anyway, that's what we do. We collect these books, and we talk about them, and we have fun, because
we're
fun people.
Yes. And we meet great people, too.
So, we do. Everyone in this community is so awesome. All of our listeners are great. Our Instagram community is great. There are so many just wonderful Harry Potter collectors, and specifically translation collectors as well. So,
absolutely.
We're glad you're all here. So tonight's show, we are going to kind of have a little catch-up because Melanie was gone, and there were so many things we talked about last week that Melanie was like, oh, I want to talk about this. And we're like, okay. And then she was like, oh, I want to talk about this. And we're like, okay. And then she's like, but then I also want to talk about this. And I said, okay.
And then I was at work and I was making notes for the episode because I was really excited about it. And after listening to your episode, I was even more excited to record tonight. So let's do it.
Let's do it. And then, of course, we will always have a translation of the show, which I say, like, I'm excited to talk about this one. I don't think there has been one that I'm like, yeah, whatever, just get it over with. Like, they're all cool for whatever
We're
reason.
saving those for the end.
I guess, yeah.
The worst
last,
is at the
episodes.
end.
Oh, no. All right, well, let's kick it off. We're not really going to have a news and main segment because a lot of this news relates to Melanie. So we're just going to let Melanie start talking.
Oh my God. Please don't make me talk the entire episode. Like, we'll
But
all
you're
talk
so good
together.
at it.
It'll be, aw, you're precious. But
Good at talking. Add it to the resume. Good at talking.
Good at talking is next to great at making pop-up cards, satisfactory tie-dyer, and
Animal Crossing connoisseur.
And way too many hours in Animal Crossing. Those are all on my resume. They're my best qualities.
Well, I think the first thing that you should talk about chronologically would be that you went to Cursed Child.
I did. And I was super excited to talk about this because since COVID, they actually they slimmed the show down quite a bit, and it is all one show now. It's not two separate shows that you have to go to. Either you see one in the afternoon and one at night, or you see 2 days. When I first saw it on like a Tuesday and then a Wednesday. Now it's just all one show. So, and watching it, I was really like, what sort of things did they cut out? It's been such a long time since I've seen it. So I really couldn't pinpoint a lot of things, but there are definitely things that I missed from the main thing. Now, have either of you guys seen the play?
No.
Did you guys read it?
No.
Yes.
I mean, Carly, don't read it. That's fine. I tell everyone, like, definitely don't read it.
That's what I've heard is just don't.
I read it once the day it arrived from Amazon on my doorstep, and it was very just underwhelmed and kind of disappointed. And I tried my oh my gosh, it's a new Harry Potter thing to get me through it. And it was just really a chore for me to read. And I read it and I've forgotten enough about it where I feel like if I went and saw the play, I wouldn't necessarily remember what was happening, but I kind of remember the main plot points, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to read it again. Ever.
No. I won't read it again either. Although I'm kind of curious to read it again now, just to really hone in on the things that were cut out.
Oh, true.
There were a lot of dream sequences that were in it that were cut. So I can say that. I know that I do remember that Hagrid was in the original one, and Hagrid was not in this one at all.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's kind of disappointing. I can't have a Hogwarts without a Hagrid.
It was so sad. I mean, well, the whole play takes place 19 years later, 20-something years later, whatever it is. But I don't know. I felt like with all of the things that they cut out, it felt very, very kind of disconnected.
I could see that. I don't
want to spoil too much for people that don't know the story, do want to see the play. So I'm going to give a little. Are you guys okay if I talk about it?
Yeah, I would. I want you to talk about it.
Yeah. But
right.
I definitely think if you haven't seen it or read it and you don't want to know, now's the time to
skip ahead a little bit. So all I'm going to say is the villain of the story, or you don't even, I don't know. There's this character that's introduced as being Cedric Diggory's cousin, and her name is Delphi, I think. And she is, so she's Amos Diggory's niece. She's introduced, and I remember in the original, it wasn't really as obvious that she was the bad guy, but she kind of has a significantly less role in this new version where, she pops up once, and then all of a sudden, Harry's son is let's help her on this mission, even though she really doesn't give reason to do it. I don't know. And then she just pops up again and is yeah, we're going to do this mission and let's find a time turner, la la la, and save Cedric. And then she disappears and doesn't pop up again until like way later on. And then you realize that she's like a bad guy. But like her character just seems so outrageously like doesn't belong in this new version, where I felt like she blended a little bit better in the original. So I feel like that was my biggest beef.
So some of the stuff they took out kind of exposed her a lot more.
Yeah, and just made it seem so awkward, like, oh, she's the bad guy. Well, she's the character that, like, sticks out that we're not really talking about, and we keep talking about Voldemort having a child, and she's the only character that's new that we've never heard of in Harry Potter, so she must be the bad guy. Like, it was just a lot more obvious. And
I remember being, like, I mean, not, like, shocked out of my skin, but, like, genuinely, like, oh, so she's a bad person, like, when I read it. Not, like, I didn't really guess, right? I was just kind of like, oh, she's the bad guy. Wow, how about that? And I feel like what you're saying is kind of what they end up doing in the movies when they have to truncate, like, a big story arc across books, specifically, like, Dobby, or we've talked about, like, Bill Weasley, where they're like, oh, this, like, minor character has just kind of been in the background doing minor character things, but in book 6 or book 7, this character needs to be, like, brought back because they have a major role in the plot, right? So, like, movie 7, it's like, oh, by the way, I'm Bill Weasley. I'm Ron's brother. Nice to meet you. It's
or,
like, oh, gosh, like, we haven't seen you at all. Or Dobby, it's like, oh, remember me? I'm Dobby. And they keep, like, showing Dobby.
You can't really say Dobby. I mean, Dobby in the movies, yes. Dobby in the books, no, because Dobby is very prevalent in the books, but
I'm talking movies specifically.
Movies
like where'd Dobby go in all those other books? They're like, oh, I guess he was only like a book 2 and done. And then it's like, oh, wait, he plays a major role in movie 7 or book 7 and then movie 7. So he's like, oh, here he is again. Remember him?
Ta-da!
Let's show him on screen for a bit. And then, like, we'll hope that when he dies, you feel bad.
And I feel like my favorite example of that is all of a sudden Harry's holding this shard of mirror in the 7th movie. And they never originally introduced Sirius's mirror in Order of the Phoenix. So
you're right, they didn't at all.
So you don't understand that
we just
what
take
this
it from the
mirror
books.
It's just
what like you do if you've read the books.
Right.
That's again like they rely on the people to read the book to kind of
put
that in your head, so they don't. Yeah, it's
because I connected those dots immediately when I saw the mirror. I didn't even consider it from the, the gaze of somebody who hadn't.
Right, but someone that's only seen the movies, they're like, why is Harry holding this broken shard of mirror? That's weird. Like, that's how I kind of felt about it. So anyway, yeah, I would say in Cursed Child, it's that sort of thing. It's like things getting introduced only for the sake of introducing things because we have to introduce things.
Well, it's nice to know that they kept that trend going throughout the movies and now the play.
Yeah, I mean... I wish there was a way to see the original, because the original with the 2 separate plays definitely isn't as rushed. There isn't the things that are cut out. It's a lot more detailed, a lot more magical. You have a lot more of those magical moments. So it's not like that wasn't translated into this newer version.
Like whoever was in charge of like the stage production and like during that COVID hiatus, they're probably sitting at home watching like Order of the Phoenix movie, and they're like, I know what we can do to make it one show. Let's cut out some major plot points.
Right.
And let's do it. All right. Sounds great.
Yeah, so that was Cursed Child. I mean, the other fun thing about my evening of going to see Cursed Child was that I got a Harry Potter tattoo, which I've been dying to do for forever. I mean, I got my first tattoo over the summer, for my daughter, and I have always wanted to get a Harry Potter tattoo. I feel like it's something in my life that it's never going to change. It's not something I'm ever going to regret. So I have little chapter stars now. Little chapter star tattoo.
What I like about it, and I'm not a tattoo person personally, like I'm never going to get a tattoo. That's something I would never do. But I feel like if I did, which I never would, but if I did, it would have to be something that is, for me personally, subtle enough where people aren't like, oh my gosh, look, it's Axl Rose, you know, or like, hey, check it out, it's the Golden Gate Bridge, right? I like the stars, where it's like, it's Harry Potter, and if you know it's Harry Potter, you know, but if you don't, you're like, oh, it's stars, that's cool. Like it's very, it's very subtle, but it's still very obvious to those people that follow that fandom. So yeah. I thought it was really, really cool when you sent me
very
a picture.
Clever.
Thanks, guys. And it's like, and it's also directly Harry Potter books too, which
right.
I mean, that's what we're all about. So
dun, dun.
I'm so glad you did that because I did it in my head.
Okay.
That's why I sang it. So yeah, that was my Cursed Child evening. It's Harry Potter Cursed Child evening. All right. What's next on the catch up?
The next on the catch-up is the ketchup. The mustard is next.
I was going to say that, actually.
Oh, gosh. We are in sync, Carly.
I know. I'm with the dad jokes tonight.
It just took one episode of you and I on here, and we are like same wavelength. The next is Melanie's thoughts on the translation of the show from last week, which was the Serbian series of unfortunate events, which...
It's so funny because, like, I was listening to you guys talk about this book and, like, ripping on this book. And I am obsessed with this book. And I remember so vividly going to a Barnes & Noble and just, like, kind of walking around and very close to the Harry Potter section. I see all of the series of unfortunate events books. And I didn't know that that's what they were. I never read the series, but I was, like, classic... book collector fashion, I'm drawn to the cover art. So because
it's great cover art.
It's amazing.
Awesome.
Oh, it's amazing. But particular, like, I love the style. I love the border, whatever. I love how these books are styled. And I was like, I would buy these books just to have this set because they look so cool. And I remember
and the pages are frayed on the other side. Like they're not the same length. It is
beautiful.
Like it is a great set of books to own.
It is a beautiful set. So I remember seeing those in Barnes & Noble, and I remember, like, going home and telling Peter and being like, Peter, I almost just got, like, a series of unfortunate events. I don't even read these books, but the covers were so cool. Like, have you seen these covers? And he's like, have I got news for you?
In true Peter fashion, I hear him saying that.
And I said, yeah, exactly. I was like, what do you mean? And he just goes... There is a set of Serbian books that have the same style as the series of unfortunate events. And I think I bought them that day, the entire set. He was like, here's a set on eBay. And I was like, done. Bought the whole set right there. And I feel like I was in, like, one of the first waves of, like, I got the set, and then all of a sudden, then Carly got the set, then Erik gets it, then, like, everybody gets it.
I only have one book, but, like,
right,
yeah.
Right, but that, you know what I mean. I feel like that's what happened with, like, the Room of Requirement set. I was like,
oh, yeah.
I felt, like, so hipster, because I was like, I got this set first, and now everybody's getting this set.
But it's so fun. Like, I remember when I saw the set, and it was one that I'm still glad I have. It's just, there's some issues.
I haven't stuck my nose in this book to, like, give
I don't recommend it
rating.
Actually.
If it wasn't, like, behind me and buried on my shelves, then I would go grab it really quick. But I love this book so much.
It was pretty abysmal.
Oh my gosh, I love this book. It's in one of my, like, favorite cover arts because I love it so much.
Yeah.
I love it, but I hate it. But I don't hate it. But
no, I don't hate it. It's
Melanie, did you hear our shout out competition?
What? Which was what?
We Carly and I have a challenge. If anyone wants to,
oh right,
yes, yeah. If you want to put the Harry Potter cover art on top of another iconic book, and iconic meaning like we need to know what it is. It's like don't pick some obscure book. We're thinking like Cat in the Hat, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, like a Harry Potter mashup with another book cover.
That would be interesting.
If you send it to us, we might send you something. So send us something. Make us giggle, and we'll post it on our Instagram page, and maybe we'll send you a little something.
Yes.
Amazing. So yeah, I just wanted to give my 2 cents about that book because I absolutely like, I have just such beautiful, fun, silly, goofy memories of getting this set. And I love them so much. And then also, just to quickly touch on, I know the main segment was talking about lulls. You know, for me, doing this podcast is the biggest thing that continues the fire. And I'm always going to love Harry Potter, and I'm always going to love collecting, and I love my collection. But there are just so many other things that happen in life that, you know, happen. Life happens. You have to make different priorities and make different changes and do different things. And my money has to go toward formula and go toward baby clothes because she grows so fast and might not be on a Harry Potter book. And I know something you guys talked about last week was the fact that for the most part, we're like content with where our collections are at.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think a point to directly to continue on that, like, I'm content where this is at. And I was thinking about this also. I don't want this to ever become like a chore. I don't want to feel like, oh gosh, I got to get this next book. Mm-hmm. Like, besides like the translation ones, I'm not like, oh my gosh, a new Mongolian book 6 is out. I have to buy it. Like, I don't want to ever make that feel like an obligation for me to get something unless it is a translation. So I'm cool with where I'm at right now, and I'm excited about the next translation. I'm not excited about just some other random book that I'm not excited about, because
I mean, you have to get the Book Expo of America edition. I feel like that should be on your list of books you need.
That's on my list. I would be excited to get that, but I would not be excited to get just some other random like book 4 in a language I don't have. Like, that's not going to excite me at this point, because that was never what my collection goal was. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I kind of want to keep it that way. I don't want to like make my new collection goal to get everything, because that would feel like a chore, and I don't want to spend all my money on it.
Yeah, yep. I definitely feel the same way. I mean, I have a list of books that I still want to have to feel like my collection is a bit more complete. And I still have some books I have my overall list of books that I still need to get. And then I have I call it my catch-up list. There are still a few sets that I really want that I didn't get when they first came out because of the wedding, because of the baby, and things like that. So I'm behind when it comes to those. But as of right now, like, I'm kind of just getting books as they come out. I know, like, Sean just messaged me the other day, and, like, I just have to ask him what my total is, and I have to pay him for my Bosnian books that I have to finish, and I have to track down the Azerbaijani that just came out, and then, like, I'll feel cool and settled once I have those books on my shelves. I'll feel like, okay, I'm immediately caught up. Then I have to go back, and I still have to get the new Swedish cover art set because I never got that. Like, that keeps me up at night that I don't have that set of books.
You don't?
I know.
Sorry, I'm just actually shell-shocked by that. I forgot you didn't have those.
I don't have it because what happened? What happened?
Yeah. You were doing wedding stuff. That was wedding stuff time.
Well, also, who did you guys tell me to get the books from?
Who?
Asta.
Oh, yeah.
What's going
also
on
had
with
a baby.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, I don't want to bug her with having what's going on with her, the same thing that I'm going through, you know? Let her be a mommy. Like, I don't need to be like, hey, take a second away from your kiddo and go find me some Swedish books. Like, I'm not going to do that. It's not priority.
Well, Harrison actually speaks Swedish, and he's got connections, so I'll ask him.
All right. But that's what I'm saying, you know, like that's my second catch up list. And then I might go back like to hunting down those other books. Like I definitely still have a bunch of original cover art sets that I would love to finish. And then there are some that I know that I'm never going to finish. Like we were talking about the French deluxe editions. I would love to finish that set. I'm never going to, but I feel like I don't know if I'm going to feel like my collection's complete until I have all of those. I don't know. So that's like where my lulls are, is like, I don't know, every so often it creeps up on me that these are books that I really want and I don't have them, and what am I going to do? So.
Well, I'll ask Harrison, at least for those.
I can
at
always
least for your
text him,
Swedish. Too. That's true. He loves to speak Swedish. He's very accommodating.
He can speak so many things.
I know.
His Swedish teacher's in Minnesota. He met her when he was here.
Yep.
That's so cool.
I thought that was very cool.
He's just so good at languagey things. Speaking of something else, though, didn't Melanie go somewhere magical?
Yeah. She went to Menards.
Oh, shout out to Menards. This episode of Dialogue Alley Podcast is brought to you by Menards.
Again.
Brought to you by Menards.
No, but I did. Okay, so last week I wasn't here because we took our little baby girl for her birthday trip, and we went to Orlando for a few days. So we decided, just my husband, me, and the baby, we were going to go to Orlando. We go this weekend every year because it's typically when they would do celebration or uncelebration of Harry Potter. So there are a lot of Harry Potter peeps around. But we spent 3 days in the park. If you're going to Wizarding Worlds of Harry Potter with a little baby, like, all I'm going to say is, like, bring someone else also with you to stay with baby and can take baby back to hotel to nap and do things, because I felt like we were just dragging her all over the place. There was barely anything that she could do at Universal, even though she could do everything at Disney, and Disney was the most magical, beautiful, wonderful day of her life. We're not here to talk about Disney things. We're here to talk about Harry Potter things. We still ended up having a wonderful time. We rode on Hagrid's Magical Creatures motorbike adventure, which was unbelievable. And we did...
Did you put your baby in the sidecar?
That's what I kept saying, like, as we were online. I was just saying, oh, you're going to ride in the sidecar, or are you going to ride on the motorbike? If you ride the motorbike, then you have to push the button. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, we definitely had a conversation about it. But yeah, she hung out in Family Swap. And that was the thing that was, like, a bummer, too, is it was my husband's first time going on it, and I didn't get to ride with him because we had to ride one at a time, but it's still like the best ride I've ever been on. It was unbelievably good.
Agreed.
Overall, good trip. We probably spent like 1 or 2 days a bit too long there, but which I never thought I would say, but I think if it was just me and my husband, we would have probably had a little bit more of a relaxing time being there with a 1-year-old, or an almost 1-year-old, because she's turning 1 in 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
Was she free to get in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. I feel like there's always that debate, right? About like, oh, which is better, Universal or Disney? And they're both great for different reasons.
Totally.
And I still think, though, for taking a kid that is very small, like, Disney is unparalleled. Like, there's nothing even close, because it is just catered towards every member of the family, no matter how old or young you are. And Universal has always kind of been like we have great theming too, but we also have a little more like edgy, thrilling rides for those like thrill seekers, and that's not what a 1-year-old is. So
correct. Disney was probably, like, in Nora's little 1-year-old life, this was probably the best day of her life. She went on every ride. Her eyes were just gigantic, and she was smiling, and she, like, I sing The Little Mermaid to her every single night before bed. And when we went on the Little Mermaid ride, like, I swear to you, this kid's, like, eyes teared up because she was so excited to be on this ride.
Which song from the ride do you sing? Do you sing Poor Unfortunate Souls?
Oh, yeah, every night before bed.
That's
and
the
then
one?
You have to do, like, Ursula's, like...
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you gotta do the whole thing. No. But that and like Winnie the Pooh was probably like her first favorite movie, and she was Tigger for Halloween, and she loves Winnie the Pooh. So going on the Winnie the Pooh ride, she was exactly the same. She was like, it was just the best thing ever. Like, watching everything through her eyes was unbelievable. But next time, my mommy will be coming with us, and she will be hanging out with Nora. And it'll probably be quite some time before we are ready to, like, brave this whole experience again. It was very overwhelming.
I bet.
Yeah, but it was still great. Always great.
You know what else is still great, Melanie?
I knew you were going to say it. I knew it was.
I was going to say, you know what else is sometimes a bit overwhelming?
You know what I just did there? I just took the volleyball and I just the perfect set, and then Erik is just about to
I was already
it.
in the air. I was already in the air. Woo. And I was even playing back row, so I had to jump before the line, and I was just hanging up in the air, and I'm just going to hit it right over. Because it's time to move on to the translation of the show.
Woohoo!
The translation of the show today is Macedonian, not the reprinted version.
No, the really hard to find
not
one.
Not reprinted. The second translation,
Nope.
which is widely available. This is the Big Six Macedonian translation, which we've talked about a few times, but we haven't really given it the under the microscope tots look-see.
Right.
Here we go.
And here we go. So, quick facts on Macedonian. The translator. Oh, I'm
so sorry.
I'm doing this section again. That's all right. I did the last one. Let me look at it. I'm going with Blagarad Blag. No, I'm not going with it. I'm going to try again. Blagoradna, Bogeska, and Sevska.
Bravo.
And I guess in all these other languages, they end with a question mark because I should just be a little more sure of myself. But the publisher is publishing house Cultura. I feel pretty confident in that. General info, it's actually a lot like Serbian in the sense that it's an Eastern South Slavic language, which is kind of, like all those like Baltic region countries in Eastern Europe. It's spoken by the first language. It is spoken as a first language by around 2 million people, and it is the official language of North Macedonia, formerly known as Macedonia, formerly known as part of the USSR. So, again, a lot of people speak Macedonian in that Baltic region, and they aren't all necessarily in North Macedonia, but a lot of them are. Scale 1 to 5. How hard is this book to get?
Oh, goodness. So hard.
It's a 5.
Oh, it is a solid
It's a
5.
definite 5. But I did have somebody message me the other day who is in Macedonia, and they found a Macedonian book. So if anyone's interested, I could help them out.
Wow. Interesting.
That doesn't usually happen, you guys. Just FYI.
I know.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is it interesting enough that I might want to upgrade my copy, Carly?
It's pretty fine. It actually looks unread.
Wow.
Depends what the price is. Let's talk about price next. What's the value of this book?
It's a see it, buy it book. You know the rules.
I know the rules. Yeah, I've seen these sell for, I don't know, $1,500.
Yeah. In any condition. It's one of those books, kind of like what we talked about on last week's episode, where it's one of those books where condition kind of falls to the wayside because it is so rare.
Right.
Yeah.
So just having one, whether it's water damaged or it looks like it's been sat on or in great condition, the point of this book is to have this book, not to have the best copy of this book.
Right.
Which is interesting. It's just an interesting...
Especially for translation collectors. You're not going to have a complete collection without this translation. So this may be your only shot at completing your collection,
Oh,
right,
for sure.
Exactly. For sure. So, before we smell this book, I will say, remember...
That is not a
everyone,
common
my copy-
sentence.
What?
Before we smell
Before
this
we
book.
smell
Before we
this book.
smell this book.
Yeah. Well, before we smell this book, remember, my copy of this book, which I've mentioned many times, is like, I want to say like the saddest copy ever.
With the best
But
story,
it's
though.
awesome. It's awesome. It's a great story. So, yeah, I've told this a bunch. My German friend's son came to stay with us. He had a friend from Macedonia. She bought it for €10 in an antique store. It is taped together with, like, really cheap masking tape. The cover is kind of faded. The ink is peeling off the cover of my book, like, between the actual, like, shiny part and the printing underneath. The spine is super warped. It looks like it's been read and left under a tree in a rainstorm, but all the pages are there. It's
and it
awesome.
Completed your collection, and it was somebody
it completed
being
my
kind.
collection, and it's a first print, so that's pretty cool. And I will say that I did take this book to the media specialist at my library at my school and had her put on that plastic, like, thick, hard stock around the cover of this book. Because if I did not do that, it would, like, the cover was literally peeling off, and I did not want it to fall off or flake off. So I have forever preserved the condition it's in, and it will not get any more preserved. So, like, in terms of, I mean, I added something to it. Like, this is never going to come off, this sticky plastic. But I'd rather the sticky plastic never come off than the actual, like, cover itself come off. So
yeah. And that's typically something that if it were in better condition, you wouldn't have to do, because that does affect the value of the book. But it was worth it to do.
Right. So my answers to all these questions are going to be kind of not as important as Melanie's, because yours is in a lot better condition than mine is, and Carly's yours is as well. So
yeah.
Without further ado, let's smell our book.
Let's smell the books. Amazing.
I mean, mine smells bad, but I'd buy it. I can't. Yeah, I feel like I shouldn't even participate in some of these categories.
No, I feel like you definitely still should, because I feel like possibly our listeners that have this book, they, like, I don't know, maybe their book looks just like yours, or maybe their book looks like mine. Like, you never know.
So my copy is a troll. It smells really bad. It's like moldy, musty, damaged book.
Yeah.
I don't think that was how it came off the press, but that's how my copy is.
Mine just smells like paper. It's acceptable.
Mine's also acceptable. I feel like it doesn't really smell like much of anything. But what a good book.
What a good book.
Sorry.
So size and proportions. I always hold these paperback books up to the UK paperback book, if it's the UK art, which it is. This is the Thomas Taylor art. It's really pretty similar in size and shape to the Thomas Taylor book. So I give the size and proportions and exceeds expectations for a paperback book. I think it's great.
Yeah, I would agree
between
with that.
acceptable and exceeds expectations. It's just a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely... I feel like I always say for a book to be outstanding, it really has to have, like, a outside factor, like Tibetan is so large, or the French books are so small.
The Swedish are so square.
Swedish are so square, and Asturian is so narrow. I feel like this book is just very appropriately portioned. So I would give it an exceeds expectations or an acceptable. I agree.
Yeah, I'm between those two.
Yeah, and I think because of the size and proportions, to me, like, I have to say how it feels in my hands. Like, it when I open it, right, it just, everything seems to fit on the pages. It looks like a good font size in terms of, like, I don't have to really crank it way open.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
To read it. So I'd also give it kind of an exceeds expectations for how it feels. It feels like a good paperback book to read.
I would too. And I like, so one of the things that I actually like, so the Macedonian is in Cyrillic.
Yes.
So one of the things that I like is that I've looked at other Cyrillic books that aren't necessarily Harry Potter, and sometimes the font feels to me, as somebody who's not natively speaker or reader of this, that it's kind of squished together. But I feel like the letters are well enough spaced that if I were a reader, I could read it pretty easily. So I like the book. I like the innards. It feels good in my hand.
Yeah.
And I don't have to crank it open to read it if I were to do such a thing. And break the spine.
That's like my big downfall with paperback books sometimes, is that, like, the font gets so close to the crease in the middle that you really have to open it up. And I mean, you still have to open it up. It's a book, but you don't really have to do that. It's like you can see the end of the sentences and the beginning of the new ones pretty easily.
Right. That's what I was trying to get at, is it doesn't feel squished.
Yeah.
It opens easily enough. The pages are nice. Like, you could read it with your hand pretty easily.
Yeah. I like it. I like how it feels.
So it's acceptable
also,
here.
even just to talk about, like, even just talking about, like, the texture of the cover, it's like a very smooth kind of texture.
The texture is very
nice
cool.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I cannot comment on the texture, so take it away.
Sorry. I mean,
mine feels almost like it's a smooth plastic. Like
smooth, hard plastic.
Had heated up and then adhered to surface of something.
Oh, poor thing. I mean, my book, I have to say, is it for a Macedonian. I would say it's in good plus almost very good condition. So yeah, and like feeling the cover and it being as intact as it is, it definitely has like a nice, very like soft texture. So that in your hand feels very nice.
It does.
All right. Quality of the book.
Well, I guess I'd say it's pretty good because mine is still here,
and it held up pretty well to whatever yours went through.
I guess it was made pretty well. So I don't know. I'd give it an E because it's intact. None of the pages fell out, and I would have thought that they would have.
Right.
All right.
Based on looking at the cover. So.
That's something. That's definitely something. Yeah, I would probably give it an E.
I'll give it an E.
I do find that it definitely creases from opening the cover, even just opening the cover to the first like page.
Yeah.
You develop a crease, and it does. You can kind of see that the cover art like peels from the cover a little bit, so that's something to be wary of, which is, I'm sure, what happened to yours.
Yeah, it's very noticeable. Like it's kind of like floating, and if I push my finger down, it like lays flat again, which is really bizarre. I've never seen any other.
That's so wild.
It's almost like it's like a tissue paper layer of the print, like ironed on to a cover.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like with mine, like I see some spots where that cover art seems to be like lifting a little bit, so it's just something to be careful of. So I would probably give it more of like an acceptable sort of. I would give it more of an acceptable. I feel like
exceeds
I'm going to lower mine to an acceptable too.
It
because
exceeds
of that.
acceptable expectations. It's kind of
There you
both.
go.
Sure. Yeah, I love it. And then the cover art. This is the Thomas Taylor art. It should be noted that
there are at least two different iterations of this, though.
Yeah, there are. However, within the two on the cover, both of them, it's zoomed in a little more than on the other Thomas Taylor art covers. So it's also a little bit darker. Like the tones are a little bit darker.
The first print or first date is very. In fact, the first time I saw it, I'd first seen Peter's, which is the second later printing, and it's almost like a pink instead of a red behind Harry and all of that, right? But Xander was the first person that I knew of who had the darker version, and it's so pixelated and so dark that I thought it was a fake at first.
Yeah, and that's the one I have. The color behind the Harry Potter font,
it's almost like a
top,
brown.
It's very dark. It's like a burgundy brown, maroon-ish color.
Yep.
And the art is pixelated. It wasn't very good in my opinion. It's kind of poor. In my opinion.
I would give it a poor also. It could have been done a lot better.
Literally looking at the interpretation of the cover art. This is the Thomas Taylor cover art that we're very, very familiar with. And how they interpreted it on this was really not translated well, for lack of a better word.
No, I figure it was made or printed pretty cheaply. Or they were using a lot of ink and it bled. I'm not sure. And then they redid it. Probably for similar things that we're talking about, and they lightened up the color to kind of a pinkish tone, and they sharpened up the images a little bit, but it still wasn't very good overall, so it would get a poor for the second as well, in my opinion.
So that's it, Macedonian, Big Six.
Yeah, very cool.
So
very
good.
fun book to have. And the story of getting the Macedonian is, I think, why because all of ours come with a fun story, right? So I think and most of the Big Six do, if we're being honest. So I think that's why I love them so much, even if the covers are, just like here, Thomas Taylor cover art.
Yeah, and we do have like a previous episode. I should look back so I could like cite the actual episode, but we're in season 2 notes and not in season 1 notes, but there is an episode where we were talking about
getting stories.
Book getting stories, and talking about how I got Carly's Macedonian, which was my Macedonian and my Macedonian, and that was one of the craziest, coolest book getting stories ever.
It really was.
Getting these books was
it's definitely a favorite of mine.
Very magical. Very, very magical.
And we also have an episode on the Big Six books for translation collectors as well. So you can go back and listen to that
content
book. Yeah.
There you go.
We have a lot. All right, so that is all the time we have today on Dialogue Alley. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can find all three of us on Instagram. Carly is on there at All the Pretty Books. I am on there at Nocturne Erik, knock like on a door, and Erik with a K. And Melanie is on there at the Harry Potter Collection. Melanie and Carly also have websites, alltheprettybooks.net and theharrypottercollection.com. They have wonderful pictures of all the Harry Potter translations that we're talking about today. But if you want to just skip right to the ones that we are talking about today, you can check out our Instagram page, which is at Dialoguealleypodcast. We also have just some fun posts about other stuff on there as well. So if you want to ever send us a direct message on that Instagram page, you can do that. You can send us an email to dialoguealleypodcast@gmail.com. You can also listen to us anywhere that you're listening to us right now. So you've already found us, you're listening. But if you want to like change it up, you can. I don't know why you would, but I don't know, maybe you want to.
It's an option.
It's an option. And also, please leave us a review if you have not on whatever platform that you're listening to us on. We would really appreciate it. It helps our show grow in terms of audience, and it just kind of gives us some feedback on what we're doing well and what you'd like to hear more from us about. Did I miss anything?
I
think
so.
You just about done it.
I think I just about done it. So, thank you so much, everyone, again. Now it is time to walk back through the archway and into our daily lives, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.